anyways. So we're probably even more closer to the 5 week.
Yeah, it's been a while for sure.
Oh, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to do the intro?
Yeah. Now?
I'll do it.
No,
I don't care.
I didn't know if Seth was still configuring.
Oh, a little bit, but I mean, I'll worry about it later.
All right. Well,
because actually, I swapped your microphone. It might have just been that microphone, or I put it in better this time. I don't know.
I don't know, but this sounds great.
Yeah, we're gonna find out.
It wasn't me. I knew it.
You were right.
But like all the microphones are the fucking same. I don't know. They're just different colors.
It's that quality control issue.
If we do not have solidarity on this
Quality control issue.
then that's it. I don't know what else to say. This is the issue. This is the time. It is happening now. We better walk into this together. And I don't care if you're double jabbed, if you're wearing the mask, whatever. Take whatever responsibility you want for your health and do whatever you want with your body that you think is medically necessary.
Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
Do not come.
Shame on you, Trump. Seriously, maybe you're not that bright. Maybe Trump's actually a dumbass.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence.
War is a racket.
Nobody has ever complied their way out of totalitarianism.
Whole segments of the society then, because they're not needed for labor within that profit model, become expendable. And so the end point of capital accumulation under an industrial model, if it's not ended, only has one path, and that path is genocide.
It.
Ace. Pirate.
Radio.
Welcome to Pine Pirate Radio. This is 2020 first episode 2024.
Yeah,
And episode
season 3,
season 3,
EP 72.
EP 72 of year 24 of day 21 of month 1. just for those keeping track at home.
Of yearly reset 3 out of 3 million years, probably.
I would say what cycle are we on? Does anyone have a number on that?
It's going to be Year of the Dragon next month.
Year of the Wood Dragon, specifically, from
Yeah.
what I understand. The only reason I have any knowledge of that is because Johnny Walker made a special Scotch bottle.
Oh, really?
It's really cool, but I'm not spending $250 on a bottle of Scotch. So
Nice.
yeah, but it's got a really cool picture of a sprite dragon.
Oh, cool.
It's a dragon, but it's got like leaves and stuff on it.
So, like, why specifically wood?
Oh, because there's 5 elements.
I was gonna say,
You won't get what. Well, now you know what one is wood. You won't guess what the other one is from the obvious ones. So you're just,
All right, so fire, water, air, earth.
I think wood would probably be earth, but
Is that earth?
I mean, there's 2 earth.
There's 2
In
earth.
my opinion, there's 2 earth. One being wood.
yeah, okay,
And
well, magma.
Closer
Yeah, rock of some
is
kind.
metal.
Metal.
Oh, I was gonna say jade or something.
Yeah.
just because of,
Jade dragon.
I always just think of metal as like a specialization of rock.
Yeah, it's just iron. It's just earth.
It's just a little more
So it's
refined.
like- yeah. But it's weird that wood, it's like biological rock and like non-biological rock are the 2 versions of earth for Chinese.
I would have assumed it was like a spiritual thing as opposed to like an actual earthly element. I would have assumed it was like consciousness or spirit or something.
Yeah, because that makes sense if there's 5.
Yeah.
One would be earth, the other one would be spirit or something.
Yeah, it'd be key or something, like energy. And then that would make sense.
Ugh.
But nope, here we are.
So yeah, the world's falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
This is
As it has been.
as we've been chronicling for like a year or more now.
Yeah, I feel like I've aged so much in the last 5 weeks.
So the Israel Gaza war is still ongoing.
Yeah.
I believe we're at over 25,000 dead.
That's only if you listen to the Palestinians.
Yeah.
If you listen to the Israelis, it's only like 20,000, and only like 80% of those are civilians.
I mean, so great numbers. Great numbers.
No, actually, I lied. Israel doesn't actually keep official numbers. They also just won't let anyone else count. So
I mean, that's true. I mean, we're getting the death records are coming from like the Gaza Health Ministry, which is associated with Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
But like according to basically every human rights group, their numbers are usually in line with other,
Yeah, there's also literally no other number. Like that's what drives me nuts is if you listen to like the UN, like every UN investigation is like there's literally no way for us to track this because we can't be there during any of the hostilities and it's not because like we're worried about getting shot, at least not by Hamas. They're like Israel just won't let us there.
Yeah.
Like CNN had a reporter, I think this happened while we were off, but CNN had a reporter go over there and basically like they had to, embedded in with the Israeli forces in the CNN, the reporter had to like have all of their footage essentially like reviewed prior to going out.
They do that. I mean, that's just standard practice in Israel.
Well,
so
what was funny about that is CNN, I guess, was offered to go out again and they said no because you won't let us show anything. So literally even CNN is like, what's the fucking point?
Yeah.
Well, that's hilarious. There was like I think it was in the Intercept, there was like a whole thing about like the CNN's censorship problems in regards to the Israel Palestine conflict. So Israel has considered it's like basically since 1948 has considered itself a state under a state of war or conflict. And so they have military censors, right? Like, so they're like a heavily militarized society. They have mandatory conscription for all military age, people in their society, blah, blah, blah. And so they, famously, like during war, especially like during World War II and World War I, the United States had military censors that would like go through the mail of soldiers and make sure they weren't divulging like important strategic, information or
violating thought crimes.
And obviously leading to that as well. I mean, in and in that, it kind of doesn't, it's a similarity that the United States shared with, Imperial Japan, Nazi Germany, whatever. But like,
they learned from the best.
They really did. And but Israel continues doing that to this day. And, and they go so far as to like require news agencies to, to basically submit copy to the government for prior approval. Yeah. And so CNN had to admit that they were probably, not even probably, that they definitely were, violating their own journalistic standards because what their practices had been like for years, for like 20 years now. What they've been doing is all of their coverage, all of their Israel-Palestine coverage, they sent to the Jerusalem Bureau for review, right? And how other news agencies get around this, get around the laws in Israel, is that they'll publish it in another bureau that's not located in Jerusalem. But CNN's like, no, we're gonna send it directly to the fucking Israeli government for review. And I just think it's funny because now the story that you were telling is like
they're really
the Israelis.
They're all walking this line now, and I think a big part of it. So I don't know how much we'll get into the specific topic, but South Africa's brought a case in the International
the International Court of Justice.
Court of Justice. I was thinking the ICC. No, it's the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, for quite literally genocide against the state of Israel, and it's hilarious. What's hilarious about it is the most one-sided case I've ever heard. They have, if you actually listen to the statements from both sides, it's actually I don't know how anyone could straight face that what Israel's doing is not a genocide just based off of their arguments. But they have, what's so interesting about this is they have I can't remember the number of pages. It's either 60, it's somewhere between 60 and 80. It's a large number of pages in this document, and like
thoroughly documented.
But like a whole,
and
like a whole chapter of that document is literally just all quotes from Israeli government and leaders within the government and leaders in the military saying, "Good, we're killing the Palestinians. Let's continue to do this," which is like proving genocide without intent is next to impossible. So they So you can say, yes, they're committing potentially war crimes, but they're not committing a genocide. They're not saying they're trying to kill these people. The Israelis are literally saying they're trying to kill these people.
Yeah.
And they're doing it on social media in ways that you can prove. So.
And they have been since October 7th.
Yes.
Like, I mean, the day of.
Yeah.
They've been like, yeah, we need to kill these people.
And of all like pretty much all except the last UN vote, basically, no, the UN's not going to do shit. But like there are like 3 countries that are aligned with Israel. It's Israel, it's the United States, the United Kingdom, Britain specifically, and one of the small islands in the Pacific. I can't remember which one.
I think it's Nauru.
Yeah, it might be. But one of the ones that literally you're like, oh, that's okay. All right, I guess it's a country.
Thanks for your input, Nauru.
Yeah. Well, quite literally. And so, but that being said, all of the other, however many members there are in the UN, 100 something plus other members are all against Israel.
Yeah.
And it's really, truly impressive how like the
how united the world is.
Well, I was just about to say, but united in literally the one way that the world power, which is the West in this case, is how I'm going to refer to it, doesn't want. So we're literally going at a multipolar, which is going to turn into a world war.
Well, I mean, I've heard. Actually, I just saw yesterday, or the day before, the U.S. has been telling Israel to fucking stop or cease fire for a little bit, and baby Netanyahu was like, no.
Well,
so I don't think the United States has ever told them
they
to
retracted
stop.
it.
Yeah, there are definitely, like, from what I've seen, like, there's definitely like been people like in the State Department that have been like hesitant.
Yeah,
about
Kirby likes to walk this line every time he gives a speech where he's like, or a briefing where he's like, well, we've heavily suggested, we've told Israel that they can't be targeting civilians, and they know that, and they're not targeting civilians, but we keep telling them that they can't.
But at the same time, they're like, Israel is our basically our waterless aircraft carrier in the Middle East, and we're going to support them. We're basically ride or die Israel,
Well, yeah, and that's the same thing where they start off with hey, we've told them they can't be, that the things that they're doing might be, not good, but then literally the next sentence is, well, there's no other army in the world that goes as far out of its way to avoid civilian casualties as Israel.
Bullshit.
Yeah, literally, the first thing you want to say is like, well, if this is them deliberately going out of their way, I'm just really fucking glad that they're not.
All I'm saying is, let's just assume that's true. Then that's like a huge indictment on modern militarism.
Yeah, well, it's the biggest failure in that front, right? That's what I mean. Like if what you're saying is that they are one of the most well-funded armies in the world because of us. They're one of the most technologically advanced armies in the world because of us, and they have like the army, the people necessary to perform this operation in the safest way that they or in the most precise way that they can, and they're still somehow killing like 1 out of 19 people is actually a Hamas militant, and the other 19 are just civilian casualties.
Really bad ratio, like worse than Iraq ratio.
Way worse than Iraq. Well, and so that's what drives me nuts is because, like, well, first of all, as an American, wouldn't you want America to take that title? Like, wouldn't you say, I know there's one army in the world that goes out of its way to avoid civilian casualties? Well, avoid them, but anyways. So every time you hear a briefing, it's literally talking out of both sides of their mouth, and it's absolutely infuriating because at this point, it's so like even people who don't know much about the situation over there are able to go like, well, wait a second, like, so they're saying they're not, they just need to defend themselves, but they've now killed like 3 times as many, or 10 times rather, as many people that they supposedly have killed since like in the event they're retaliating against.
I just had a George Floyd fucking flashback.
Yeah.
With Trayvon Martin. This is like the same thing. It's like, I'm defending myself from this child. It's like
this oppressive regime.
No, but like, who defends themselves for 3 months straight?
Oh, it's because they're not defending. They're literally.
Exactly.
It's an offensive war.
Yeah.
They're going to occupy it. They don't. They're like, because what was it? I think that was even when we were gone. But Netanyahu was like, well, someone's got to occupy it, and we might as well. We're right here.
Yeah.
So what you mean is you just bomb the shit out of this place, displaced all of the civilians, and now you are going to occupy it.
I mean, and just recently, I mean, I believe it was yesterday or maybe even earlier today, I mean, Netanyahu was saying, you know, like, I don't know, like, I mean, obviously, like, you got, like, on social media, like, all these, like, pro-Palestine accounts were saying from the river to the sea, let Palestine be free.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, all these Jewish organizations are like, this is a call for genocide. Boo, 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 boo. You know, like, they're, like, you know, crying their crocodile tears about it, right?
Yeah.
Well, Netanyahu literally just said that we're going to occupy. We fully intend to occupy the entirety of the Israeli territory from the Jordan River to the ocean.
Yeah.
That's saying from the river to the sea. If one side saying it is a genocidal statement, then it only follows that if the other side says it, it is also a genocidal statement.
Yeah,
like,
Ryan Grimm did a really good discussion on that, a really good piece about that in the Intercept. Back when from the river, this was back when like college students were getting like more or less expelled from schools for saying things like that, and there were protests where like from the river to the sea being a call for genocide. He's like, it's literally like in the Israeli founding documents that say the same exact fucking thing.
Right.
They say they want all of everywhere from the Jordan River to the sea to be Israel, the state of Israel for Jews. So they're
right, and the primary difference between that is that they've acted upon that,
Yeah,
and the
blown up.
Palestinians really have not. I
Yeah.
mean, if anyone's fighting a defensive war, it's the people who are living in Gaza.
Yeah, it's absolutely,
You know?
it's absolutely like absolutely like the guards of the prison, like just turning weapons on the inmates and being like, "Well, this is your fault. You guys are, you know, occupying this land." It doesn't make any sense.
And you know, and I know we've said on this podcast before, you know, and obviously we all know this, but like this conflict didn't start on October 7th.
No,
and
Netanyahu's in such a precarious political situation because like, and this is where I don't know. This is not to blanket all of the Israeli population, but like aforementioned it earlier, like Israel is a very militarized state, and so like the Israelis want, at least most of them, according to polling, are happy with the fact that the Palestinians are kind of getting skull fucked right now. But like the problem is Netanyahu's cabinet, his politicians are so far to the right, they don't think he's doing enough.
right,
And he's facing like some really massive corruption charges that are actually like supported by the public, the population of Israel. So like he's basically been able to keep everything kind of on this like, well, we will handle all of those issues after we're done dealing with this threat.
right. So the incentive is to prolong the conflict to avoid personal responsibility on his end, and he seems to be successfully doing that.
100%. But there's pretty soon there's gonna be nowhere left to bomb. Doesn't make any sense. Like there's literally there's almost nowhere left for them to try and destroy.
Yeah.
To the extent that they have.
I mean, they've extensively destroyed almost all the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Right. They just recently they blew up that university, that major university in Gaza, and they were trying to say, so like it even like there was like a State Department like press briefing about it, or it came up in a State Department press briefing, and they were trying to say, well, it was a military target. And so the Israelis were basically saying, well, it was being used by Hamas, you know, it was a valid target, blah, blah, blah. And the reporter that was like, I believe it was Kirby, was the spokesperson. He was talking to him, and he's like, well, that was, you know, this was destroyed. This was demolished by landmines, which means that soldiers had to go into the building and very carefully place these mines. If they would not have done that if they were under fire.
Yeah. Also, if they could do that, why couldn't they have,
right,
performed a precision military operation?
Right, you would have used missiles if this was an active military installation. This is very clearly conscientious destruction.
This was a controlled demolition.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And he even said that. He goes, it's very similar to when we detonate bombs to bring
World Trade
down
Center.
to bring down a stadium or an apartment building or something like that.
Yeah.
And you know, and the State Department's like, well, we're very concerned. It's like,
this is where it's one of those things where we can't. They just want to say that they're doing something, but the United States is literally claims to me it's getting to the ridiculousness of the omnipotence paradox, right? So with like, this is one thing that got me like really early in my teens, where if someone or something is omnipotent, it knows and can do anything, right? So if you're talking about a monotheistic religion, that would be God. But if that were true, then this being could create something that it couldn't destroy. It could create something that was indestructible.
That would essentially negate its own power.
So that's so the United States wants to be the state that can simultaneously influence all of the entire world. It can win any war. It can manipulate any economy or election or anything. But also, well, we've told Israel to stop and they just won't do it.
So, I mean, so like in a wider context, I mean, we're seeing the breakdown of the unipolar order.
Yeah.
So the United States as the head honcho of the world. And I mean, this is very obvious. I mean, it hasn't been true that the United States has been able to win a conflict ever.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, since World War II, basically. And then you can even argue about that.
Where we just kind of sat at the back and cracked a few. I mean, we sent troops over there. It's not to downplay anyone that was actively involved, but
like where the United States got its power was through its Navy and through its ability to ensure the security of international shipping routes, right? Like and basically, you know, by shoring, and it was basically two-pronged. It was through the creation and protection of merchant shipping routes, and on top of that, the creation of an intelligence infrastructure that could basically manage. It was a new type of management, right? Like, so like, not that the British hadn't been doing similar things before, blah blah blah, but the United States kind of heightened this, and it was basically like, we're gonna give you the pretense of running your own country, but like we have the kill switch at any point.
Yeah, all of your key players are our installments, basically.
And it's just having this huge amount of economic leverage over the world. And also we were in like a unique position after World War II where we could just be like, well, we're the strongest economy. We're going to prop up your economy. And in return, you're going to do basically anything we say.
Because we were involved in that war, but we also like gave some of the least material. And so like we were able to kind of claim the winning side and then use all of the resources that we didn't actively expend on active warfare that we let all of the European countries use,
including people.
Oh, but especially people, because then we could take our people and put them to work essentially and rebuild and build ourselves up. That's what the whole like post-war boom was like, where we're just our population exploded, industry exploded, business, everything, commerce for the United States just fucking boom. And we took advantage of that while everyone else was still recovering from all the people that they lost and the stuff that was destroyed during the literal war they were part of.
I mean, and basically, we forged this globalist order, this idea, where basically this idea that the world is just one market instead of many discrete markets, and with unique national interests and stuff. It's like, no, we're all one world. Capitalism is going to create one world, blah, blah, blah. And as I've reiterated before, the foundation of U.S. power is the ability to basically ensure that, our world is built on the idea that you can basically manufacture many parts, like, so for instance, like say computers, like we mine like the lithium and the silicon in Latin America, which is then shipped to wherever to get processed, and then it's sent to Europe to get or Taiwan to get manufactured, and then it's sent back to Europe or going over to Japan, and then finally to the United States, and that's all just to build a fucking PC, right? If you can't ensure basically the security of the seas, you can't have a globalist world order. You can't have an economy that functions like that anymore. You just can't. And we're seeing the beginnings of that breaking down, particularly in the Red Sea right now with the Houthis attacking international shipping. People,
which is just fucking hilarious. Sorry,
I think it's great.
I think it's hilarious that so this is like late stage global capitalism in a nutshell, because like they've attacked and sunk like I think like 2 ships, and now everyone, rightfully so, is like, well, we're not going through the fucking Red Sea, and the United States' response is, we'll just bomb them. The Houthis have been bombed their entire fucking existence. So like the only thing they need to stop a ship is like a $40,000 drone, and they have 1 million of them.
Right. Like and they're easily replaced.
Yeah.
And they're getting directly supplied by Iran.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not just saying that like as like a US talking point. They literally are getting supplied by Iran. And Iran's like, sure. And they don't give a shit. Like
because they're stopping ships from like essentially helping get directly to Israel and other places too. Like, it's not to say that there aren't collateral damages there, but like literally they're they're diverting all of the shipping for like no cost.
Right.
And so global capitalism is going to say, well, don't take the risk. But what's hilarious is that Biden is based in the United States. Really, it's not even Biden. Biden doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Like, and I don't mean like as an inept politician. I just mean like the guy is clearly not in charge of anything. He's just a figurehead, in my opinion. But like, he's at this. It's at the stage where like Biden's like, well, we need to declare these people world terrorists because they're doing these terrorist actions. Okay, but the fact the businesses aren't sending their ships in, like, you can't send a ship into an area where there's an active conflict going on and then claim, no, we were terrorized.
Yeah.
Because you could just not send your ship through there.
Right.
Don't stick your dick into a bee's nest and be surprised at what happens.
Yeah. Well, and it's so far away that the United States doesn't really have like a strong, like localized base of operations.
Yeah.
So our only response is just bomb the fuck out of them. But if you've ever looked at fucking Yemen on a map, not Yemen, Yemen on a map. Sorry, got my other end of the Red Sea mixed up. But if you ever looked at Yemen, it's all just fucking desert.
Yeah,
there's nothing to bomb.
I mean, they have Sana'a, which is like the major city.
Oh, but for military like outposts, like you don't.
Right.
It's fucking desert. You're never gonna see where they are. They're gonna go out there and do their operations just enough to, like, they don't need to sink every ship. They just need to scare them away, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, and to your point, we've been bombing them for years, and if anything, doing that has actually led them to being a stronger political force within Yemen. Because it's basically solidified public support underneath them.
Yeah. And you see that pattern repeated so many times throughout U.S. history.
There's not going to be a single Palestinian that I can almost promise not going to be a single Palestinian that's going to be pro the West.
Oh yeah.
After this.
Ever. Why?
Because as long as you never would. It's they're literally creating potential terrorists. I don't like the word terrorists because it was so abused in the United States after 2001 rather. But anyways, they are sowing so much hatred in the region that some of those people are inevitably going to grow up to be active militants against that.
They've been really trying for the last 40 years. So as much hatred in that region as possible. I mean, what do you fucking expect?
Well, yeah, now it's just straight up blowing them up.
I mean, and we've expended so much time and treasure into trying to like remake the Middle East into something that we could live with, like geopolitically, and we've got exactly nothing for it. Nothing.
No.
So how much time and treasure have we spent in Iraq, for instance, right? And the Iraqis literally just are basically banning the United States military from their territory.
They're starting to catch back up and be like, nope, fuck off.
Because it just makes sense for the Iraq. So they're going to respond to the powerful players in the area. The two big ones are Israel and Iran, right? So like a lot of people like see like the Iranian and the Israeli rivalry as like an ideological thing. Oh, it's Islam versus Judaism. You can more accurately look at it as they're two regional powers that are vying for the same economic, area of influence.
There's not many resources in the Middle East, at least not. There's like oil and stuff, but like for people to live, and so what is there is very, very sought after.
And when Israel loses U.S. backing, I don't think the Americans will ever be like, we don't support Israel anymore. But what will end up happening is we won't be able to support Israel anymore. Yeah. And when that happens, Iran is essentially going to be the regional power in the area. I mean, that'll happen with the Saudis as well. The Saudis are a big power right now because of U.S. support. When that dries up, a lot of their influence is going to wane, and Iran's going to be ascendant. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, and they have a lot of money. They have a lot of like wealth behind them, but most of that wealth is situated in the United States, and we know that, and they know that, and that's how we have a lot of leverage over Saudi leadership. Is because we could sanction that wealth at any moment. We could deny them their trillions of dollars.
The downside of that global economy is that like kind of almost any party at any time can take one part of that hostage whenever they want. So, but not necessarily like it really depends on the individual situation, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But like any member of that, what if they get enough influence, they can hold that chain hostage. And so that's where that big one is with Taiwan, and the semiconductors was the example earlier. And it's like, so Taiwan just had another election, and their election, it was another major election but the very pro-West party was the supposedly the result of the election. I don't keep track of actual Chinese election corruption, but all I'm going to say is that what it means is that Xi Jinping has been like very vocal about like, well, that kind of sucks. We may really have to revisit. We're gonna have to really go after this unification thing now, because now the political leadership of Taiwan is very pro United States.
Well, she said it was a certainty that Taiwan will be.
It's going to be his legacy.
China.
But it was always, he was trying to, I think probably at the at least somewhat of the advice of Vladimir Putin, being like, don't just do what the Americans would do. They're losing this battle, this worldwide battle, but they can't. But if you just do it, it not under the guise of political democracy of some way, then it will swing back around. But I think the writing is on the wall that China is somewhat losing the political back of house game that's going on in Taiwan.
Yeah.
And so it might force their hand. Is really the interesting thing, and that really sucks for us, because the reason we care about Taiwan is all of the semiconductors. Once those are like safely made here, which won't be for another 5 to 10 years probably. Like once we get the factories up and actually get people trained, then yeah, she can go ahead, take Taiwan. We don't give a fuck. But right now, we still care about our iPhones and our drones too much.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the purpose of Taiwan in U.S. foreign policy has kind of shifted over the years, right? Like, you're right. Like, now it's like this bastion of, like, you know, high tech. You know, for some reason, we thought it was a good idea to, like, put all our, like, strategic assets right off of mainland China.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever.
That was our
But,
hubris for such a long time.
It's
We're like,
so stupid.
We have South Korea and Japan as basically our colonies in the area. But now North Korea is literally, like, gearing up for a fucking war with South Korea, because I think China's going to say, like, all right, Taiwan, you're coming with us. And then, okay, we'll take care of Japan. North Korea, you guys take care of South Korea. Because you want to do that anyway. So
to that point, I mean, the North Koreans have been meeting, or at least have been actively talking with the Russians. Mm-hmm. They've been supplying the Russians with arms.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Russia's been buying a shit ton of weapons from them.
Huh.
And things are gonna pop off. Like this is an inevitability.
Yeah.
Like we were talking, I think the last podcast or a couple podcasts ago, that 2025 is probably going to be the year that we see some sort of beginning of this conflict.
Shit hitting the fan. Yeah.
And we've been talking pretty much since the beginning of this podcast that
with Ukraine. It's just
right
at the beginning.
February 2 years ago.
God, we had 2 episodes before Ukraine happened.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
and woo.
And I don't know, I don't think it'll be hard to, and basically we've been saying the same thing over and over again. It's either it could be in Europe, it could be in the Middle East, it could be in Asia, but no matter where it is,
all three.
It could be all three at once. That would be interesting to see, basically the BRICS launch some sort of an offensive against the unipolar West, basically the United States and Europe.
Yeah. And
it wouldn't go well. I was talking. There was a coworker of mine. He's a security guard where I work, and he's a National Guardsman. And he was telling me that he was going to he's getting deployed to Finland because they're doing huge NATO exercises on the Finnish border within 20 miles of Russian positions in Russia. And it's meant as this huge provocation. Basically, he even told me, he's like, we're just going over there to swing our dicks.
Yep, and really hope that they do something.
Right.
Because then that will give us the premise that we need to continue.
And he, and we were talking, and he said, and I go, well, what do you think about that? And he said, well, he's like, he's a young guy, he's like 23, 24. And
wow, that is young.
And he was saying basically, I hope we get the chance. And I'm like, do you really want that?
Go spend the winter in fucking Finland.
I was like, dude,
out sitting on this fucking this barren border between you and fucking what's the name of the city up there? That's driving me nuts. The Russian city. That's not their capital. It's the backup capital.
St. Petersburg?
No.
Gutenberg Press.
Anyways, no, it's the one that's closer to. It's the one that's closer to Finland. I want to say it was one of the Grads.
Kaliningrad?
Yeah, it's Kaliningrad, because that was one of the reasons we needed Finland in NATO so bad, was because like we need that direct access to not have to go through fucking Belarus to try and get to Kaliningrad, because it's like a huge geopolitical station for Russia,
Right,
and so Finland can basically go over the top, and then they can go, and then we could push our troops through Ukraine from the south, and that would be the pincer maneuver on Russia, because Russia to the east has like nothing. So like it's. You just hit them from kind of the north and the south at the same time, and you get up in there, which is why Russia said Ukraine is a red line for us, because we're not going to give you guys a fucking open corridor from the south.
And also it's no coincidence that they're doing it in Finland, because Putin has also famously said that Finland is a red line for him as well. Yeah. So
in Finland and Russia already are, they've already had issues,
right?
Literally a whole war, and so this is where it's astounding to me that they're going to try and mobilize. I think the numbers that I saw were 90,000 NATO troops, because they're still saying that. So they have fucking Volodymyr Zelensky at Davos right now talking about how, when Russia's done with Ukraine, they're not going to stop. They're going to continue, and they're going to take over all of Europe. There's literally no evidence for that.
There was that German Ministry of Defense document that got leaked. I don't know if you guys have seen any coverage on that.
I don't think I've seen that one.
So it was the most prominent article that I saw was in Bild, which is like a big German newspaper or news site over there. And it was talking about like basically how they were predicting that like within the next few months that Vladimir Putin would basically would invade a NATO country and start like a full-on onslaught on Europe. They've been saying that for 2 years.
They're just waiting for the opportunity to pay a bunch of like Russian defectants to put on some Russian uniforms and go bomb a church somewhere. Like that's all they're or some sort of like state building or something. I'll bet you it'll be an embassy.
It's like Russia, like Putin. Like I mean, I know we probably come off as like Putin stands or something, but like he's not a stupid man. He would never fucking like they're like there's a good chance that he'll invade Poland. Like no, he won't. Yeah, he's not going to invade Poland. If he was going to invade anywhere, it would probably be Finland.
And if he's going to invade anywhere, why did he wait until now? Like why did he wait until all of a sudden?
He hasn't invaded the entirety of the Ukraine. Yeah, it's been 2 years.
You would think that if you were going to invade like your neighbors, you would do it prior to them like trying to join a large coalition.
And if they were, you do it fast.
Well, that's what it's come down to. I think that the American backing really did all I can think of is was it I don't remember what the game was, but it doesn't really matter. Just pick a video game where you heal your health with potions, but they don't ever put a cap on the potions that you get. So every time you get hurt, you just swig a potion. You just have 1,000 potions by the end of the game. That's literally what we did with Ukraine. Like Ukraine would just take a hit, and then the United States would come in and just shove a potion like up their ass, and like we just did that for the last 2 years. And so, but as soon as we stopped doing that, which we're doing now, because now we have a new distraction for our public, like Ukraine's getting like left in the dust, but they need to. They're still going to utilize that puppet and have Zelensky go around and talk about how this is an existential threat for everybody, but. It just doesn't really add up. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. What does make a lot of sense is that the United States is genuinely losing the international favor that it used to have. And so now if it wants to sort of try to continue this world domination the way that it's always had, being the king of that hill, it has to do it through force. But it doesn't have the force to do that. So like we're really just in this try to convince everyone else to fight our battles for us game.
And like recruitment numbers for the U.S. military are down extensively.
Yeah, in manufacturing, and military equipment's down because we can't get people to do it because we actually offloaded a lot of that. So now we buy a lot of weapons from other places. And it's like, the fuck?
I do think that like one of the right talking points is that they're importing vast amounts of people to basically throw elections, right? I think that's probably part of the calculus, right? But I also think that a lot of this is one of the reasons why they're letting so many military-aged men into the United States is because they're intending on drafting them.
They're going to hope to get them in the military.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do think that's a part of it. What I think is hilarious is that I don't think that's going to work out as well as they want, especially with because the big draw for the United States military was like, you'll either get an education or you'll get essentially a salary or a pension. You'll get something that will set you up for life. People don't want education as much as they used to. Like, kids don't even want to go to school as much as they used to anymore. They come in here already knowing that the economy is essentially in the shitter. So they go, well, there's nothing for you to offer us for us to go die for you.
Yeah, there's
so
no future anymore.
Why would we do that?
The American dream has died.
So it's, I don't know. But one thing that it makes me laugh, because it's my favorite part of the Israel Gaza conflict, is that Claudine Gay is no longer the president at Harvard. Which is fucking hilarious. Not because I didn't even know anything about Claudine Gay until this story came up, and now I think I know more about her than I need to know, but I still think it's hilarious. So so there was this, because of this conflict, it became very taboo, and this is because of COVID, sort of really ushered in this "it's okay to ban speech" discussion. And so, like, because it's like an existential crisis, and so there were kids getting banned from protests and from saying stuff on Harvard campuses about Palestinian, basically Palestinian support during this war. And so she started, really hammering down on some of that, but not all of it, to the point where she pissed off enough of the donors that they brought her in front of the fucking Congress of the United States, or was it a Senate committee, but either way, in front of the fucking government of the United States, to basically get berated and say, well, if kids are calling for genocide, is that against the Harvard policy? There was this hearing where her answer was basically, well, it's context dependent.
Yeah, you couldn't answer.
Well, the answer is really, it's so difficult, because the answer is, well, show me where someone calls for genocide. And they say, well, these students are saying from the river to the sea. And then your response is, well, that's not a call for genocide. And they say, well, yes, it is. And so you're just in this fucking back and forth.
Where do you
loop.
go from there?
Yeah, but anyway, but no matter what, they handled it so poorly that people were calling for them to get fired. And so they were going after anything to get, it was Harvard, and was it Stanford, and I don't remember the third school. Maybe it was Yale. 3 of the Ivy Leagues. The Harvard one is the most important to me, because it's my favorite story. It's my favorite roller coaster.
Yeah.
And so Claudine Gay, basically what this guy, who I didn't know his name until this story either, but a gentleman by the name of Bill Akman, he went through all of this effort.
Whose name is a perfect anagram of blackmail.
Is it really? Oh, perfect.
Oh, that's funny.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Which is really ironic, because when we get to the end of this story, or at the very least the present, because I hope this story goes on for a little while. So Bill Akman, he's a Democratic donor, I believe, or maybe a Republican. No, he's a Republican donor. He's a billionaire, and he went through a lot of effort to find anything to get Claudine Gay, and also very pro-Israel. He went through anything to get Claudine Gay fired from her job. Basically used an AI to read through all of her 4 academic papers or whatever, or 11.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
How little she's published, and she's leading like the most prestigious university in the world.
I agree that, like, if you're going to be the president of one of the most prestigious universities, you need to not only be a good administrator, but you also need to be a leading academic.
Absolutely. Like
that.
And I'm not trying to say she's not a smart lady, because
Right.
I'm sure she is, but like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Well,
Like,
it's so she's published very little. Of what she did publish, over 50% of those papers had instances of just direct plagiarism in them. And so
didn't she like crop from Wikipedia?
I don't remember if it was Wikipedia,
Or was
but-
that Bill Ackman's wife?
Well, it might be.
Yeah.
It might be. Well,
Okay.
that's
Sorry, I
no,
got
that's
ahead of
okay.
you.
Yeah, fucking spoiler alert over here for it. Like,
Sorry.
So they get her fired, and then Bill Ackman does this fucking giant thread on Twitter about, academic integrity is critical,
Oh, yes.
and you need to be, if you don't have principles in academia, you have no business being there, and if you can't even write your own stuff, you don't deserve to be like taken seriously in society.
Which is fair.
Which is
fair.
Which is at the very least, on the face of it, it's probably a little too black and white, but also, yeah, like that's kind of the point of academia. What's fucking hilarious is that, someone took an AI to his wife, and I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I did know it at one point, but someone did the same thing. They took an AI to review his wife, who is apparently a very well-known academic. Fucking find out she did the exact same fucking thing.
Because they all do.
Because
first of all, let's talk about plagiarism for a little bit, because this is something that's always bugged me. So plagiarism, I get, like, so if you're you should always credit your sources, right? You should, like if you're writing in whatever, an academic article or whatever. And, there are many ways to do that, right? Like, so you can directly cite, right? Like, so you put a direct quotation from wherever you're cribbing from, and then you say, I got this from here, right? This is also, if you paraphrase an idea or you crib an entire idea, you can just cite the entire paragraph and be like, I got this inspiration from this thing. As far as I'm concerned, if you do that, that's fine. But that's not where academic standards of plagiarism end. They say that even if you do that and you cite, that's still plagiarism.
Yeah,
they also say that if you you have to recontextualize things in your own words. The problem being is that there are only so many ways you can say the same thing over, and that's what academics run into. That okay, so we're gonna how many times can I discuss utilitarianism without retreading ground that someone else has already
you
tread?
can't have a new idea in a vacuum.
No.
Well, I think,
and that's so dumb to me.
I think the idea is that if you're even if you're paraphrasing, because in academia, the words in your paper are your idea. It's the thought, right? The words themselves are less important than the idea they're trying to communicate. And so if you're paraphrasing without crediting, it's implying that it was your thought. And if you're using a paraphrase of a thought that you read somewhere else as part of the direction of the thought your paper's trying to go, then put it in there. Even if you need to directly quote it, then quote it and cite it. But then say well, because I introduced this as a reference point to my point. This is now we're talking my thoughts,
right?
And that's supposed to be the whole idea. That's how it moves forward at the echelons. Because in academia, that's how you actually get new ideas, is by building off of other ideas. And so if you're essentially copying someone else's idea and not progressing it, to me, that's plagiarism.
So I get that idea, I do, but so much of the value of academic literature is in synthesizing and resynthesizing prior ideas. They're literally, so you'll have an entire academic monograph that maybe doesn't have a single unique idea in it, but the value comes from synthesizing two other works together or multiple other works together. It just comes in. It's like you can think of it maybe a new smoothie or something. It's not necessarily the uniqueness of the ingredients, it's how they're blended together. And just by doing that, a lot of times you're oh, all right, I never thought to think of it from this perspective or from this particular thinker's perspective on this particular issue, because it just never even would have occurred to me. But there's not a single unique thought in there. All you're doing is just recontextualizing things that have already been written. But there's a huge amount of value in that. And that's not plagiarism.
No, I wouldn't think that would be. But I think so. Actually, to use that metaphor in a way that makes it hopefully I think easier to what I'm saying, if you're making a dish, right? You didn't invent milk, right? You didn't invent eggs, you didn't invent flour. If you decide to put them together in a way that makes a thing, cool, if you want to call it your recipe, that's great. But if you so you say, I want to put flour and eggs, and I've seen someone sift the eggs in this way, and so that's kind of your citation, right? I watched Bobby Flay, and this is how he put the flour in or whatever. So I tried that, and then when I'm done, this is my souffle, right? Or whatever. I don't know if there's flour in a souffle. Anyways, but but more of the point is saying you would say you would credit that, but when you're done, it's obvious that you created the thing. But if you took Bobby Flay's recipe and followed it as prescribed
and never credited
it never
him.
Said that it was yours.
No,
right?
I agree.
Then there's the plagiarism, and then so that's what happened with Claudine Gay and Bill Akman's wife, is that their actual analytical results were what were taken wholesale. And that's where that would read as though that was their idea and their conclusion, and that's where it wasn't. To your point, though, for absolutely, plagiarism has become this boogeyman in academia, which is just an easy way to try and discredit people who don't when someone does put out something that's good, they just try and use it as a way to discredit it.
And they'll just go through, and now because of AI, they just go through their entire paper and they'll be we found these two paragraphs that are extraordinarily similar to these two paragraphs, and it's Yeah, probably.
Because I'm using the same language.
Yeah. And also, I probably read that book, and a lot of this is, I don't even think a lot of it's intentional.
Oh no, God, I feel that way all the time.
Yeah.
I get information, I don't save the data on who I heard it from or where I heard it, and it's just in my brain rattling around.
So this is where it gets important: is that if we were in positions of authority based off of our ideas, that's where it would be an issue.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so where
the president of Harvard.
So like the president of Harvard is probably punishing other people for doing the same thing she's doing. That's a huge amount of hypocrisy. But like the sad fact, not even the sad fact, the fact is that academia, that's how it's always operated. It's literally what it does. So I think a lot of the problem is like we have like this capitalist idea that academia needs to be producing something, and like this idea that it needs to like manufacture new ideas and concepts. Well, it does, but it does it in like a less like directed manner. It does it. It's almost like it's almost like a natural effect of just kind of like mulling the ideas like constantly,
well,
then eventually new insights will come up. But like this idea that like every work has to be like this unique thing that advances this unique argument. It's impossible to have a unique. I know. First of all, there's an entire academic tradition called intellectual history that's basically which is kind of ironic actually as I think about it. But like the entire point is to trace the through lines of ideas through, all the way back to their origins. Basically just going, well, this guy didn't create this, even though he said he did. This guy didn't create this, even though he said he did. And these people that, that they're documenting, these were the highest intellectual figures of their time. This is a tried and true aspect of academia. This is how it's always been.
You have to be in a position in order to share ideas in order to get credited for them.
Right.
Yeah, and you have to be. There's like other levels to it too. Like you could come up with an idea and get it 90% of the way to completion, and not be able to finish it for some reason or another.
And every single time. I mean, no, I completely understand if you literally just like take someone's work and are like, this is my work, and you didn't do the work. But if you actually went through and wrote the fucking thing, and there are some similar paragraphs to another work, there are literally hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of published works in the English language. Odds are something you've written is remarkably similar to something someone else has written.
Yeah, I mean, what do they say that a bunch of monkeys with a typewriter in a room is going to write Shakespeare at some point?
Yeah, but I think to that point though, AI, the value of AI is that like it would be remarkably similar, but it would be similar and not the same. And that's where that's
she's directly cribbing and not
But just like with the media outlets, right? Like the number of news articles that you can find that are literally the same exact words, but on 7 different local newspapers and or 7 different media outlets, like that to me is like the if it were 7 different people writing the same story, they might be similar, but they wouldn't be exactly the same.
So like my problem comes not necessarily from the practice of doing something like that. And she should have cited the work she cribbed it from. But then of course she's very clearly a lazy scholar.
Yeah, she should have done the work.
Right? Like she should have done the work. But like really where I come from is the hypocrisy of punishing others for doing the things that you yourself did. That's annoying to me.
Yeah.
Like it's not even necessarily
and that's why it was so ironic that it wasn't even her like inability to navigate sort of the administrative side of it, right? Like during that Senate committee, she was a bad representation for the school, which would probably piss off a lot of the private donors, and that's probably what ultimately got her fired. But like the public excuse was, well, yeah, she's supposed to be a leading academic that doesn't even follow the rules of academia, but she's going to set policy for future academics at that university rather. So yeah, like it's that is when you're in an authoritative position based off of that expertise that you don't actually have, that's where it becomes a real issue.
It also comes down to I follow like a lot of academics on Twitter, and like a lot of the people just the Twitter area that I'm in are either in academia or in grad school. I mean, I guess it's all academia, but are in various levels of academia. And like a huge part of it is like even people who have institutional access, like places like different libraries and stuff on campus, it's very difficult to access a lot of the stuff that's been written. Like these publishing houses and stuff have like huge amounts of like control over who gets what, like in terms of like, so you have like these like huge academic databases. Not every university has access to every database. I mean, I would like to think that Harvard does, probably does. But like, I mean, many places, like just because you have institutional access doesn't mean you have like universal access to everything. Or if you do, it could take months or even years to get access to certain documents unless you like illegally download them, which most academics do. By the way, is there's like this huge underground trade in just like in academic monographs and stuff. That's basically what they
like
basically
Substack
just pirate it, like, because it's so difficult to get like these books, this research otherwise. And so like, anyways, my point is that there's a lot of like factors that contribute to stuff like this, because a lot of times like it's even like you may first of all, a lot of it may be intentional. You may be resynthesizing something or saying something that you didn't even know was said in the first place because you couldn't access the source. You know that this paper exists, or you know that this book exists, but you can't read it because it's only in 3 libraries. You know what I mean? And and it would take like a long time or extensive resources to get it. To get a scan of it. You have to like there are ways to do it, but it's a huge pain in the ass, and it's a huge amount of time that you have to like donate to it.
Well, that's the effort, right? Like that's where it's like the hilarity is that the president of Harvard was not going through any of that, but yet was going to use her authority in a way to punish and set policy.
Yeah. Even as an aside, I think if you're writing a paper nowadays, you could always ask AI to check to see if it's picking up any plagiarism in your own work, and you can fix that before. Like if you're doing it by the book, but you're having AI help you.
Right.
Well, why not?
Yeah, well, that would be like, in a more like, and I'm sure that happens all the time. I mean, there's that story we talked about on the not in academia, but a freaking lawyer that had AI ChatGPT write his closing arguments or whatever, and it cited like 3 different cases that didn't actually exist. Yeah. So it's like, it's like, oh boy. So I'm sure in academia there are people who are like trying to leverage AI to both good and evil extents, right? But like I think in Claudine Gay's case, that's all history. Like that wasn't a thing when she was
certainly not,
writing her works. Or Bill Akman's wife, I believe, is similar. That her work is pretty well known, not new, and so it's just pretty ironic. What it did though, to kind of Fort's point, I think that at one point we were kind of getting to is that it really did draw another schism in professional. In just professionalism, I guess, in general. But like there's now 2 sides of the, well, why don't we just get AI to review all of academia, and now we'll find out who the real frauds are. And there's a real schism there of people who are cool with that and people who aren't cool with that.
Right, because there are academics who know if they put the work in or not. And also there's a huge trend in academia. So like professors, like full professors, like so they'll have several grad students underneath them. And many times they'll they'll literally just steal the work of the grad students that were underneath them and basically and repackage it as their own research. And like and depending on like the health of the institution they're in, that's seen as like a privilege of the position. Like you don't actually have to do it. You can just you can just take from those underneath you, and that's part of them, paying into the system or whatever. A lot of scholars are going to get in trouble. I guarantee
if that goes that way. Oh my god.
I mean, and I don't think academia can afford it. It's
I don't know. My burn it down inclination is like, yes.
I kind of love it.
Well, what's really funny, especially I think we're going to see with most of actual academia, is there's going to be another schism, like a bifurcation, where you're going to have people who are going to school for just to try and get a degree to get a job, even though they're going to find, they're going to learn that that's not as necessary as it used to be. But then the other half of that line is going to be all of the wealthy people who just, that's how they got their ups. And so they're just going to send their kids to these universities. Yeah. And so you're going to see it's going to be a very class driven thing. But what's hilarious is that, a lot of class driven academia was either plagiarized, stolen, or just forged outright completely. And so now we're just going to see this point where like academia is worthless, and we're going to see in my opinion, massive decline in it. And the only people that are going to be there are wealthy people who are trying to get their kids like an easy ride somewhere else. But like that train is going to stop when when there's no fucking work for them to do, jobs for them to get.
Yeah, I mean, there was like a huge glut of universities. Probably in the United States, I think there were over 4,000 at one time, and that number is gradually shrinking as colleges close. And and like there were like in the 70s and stuff, there was like this huge. There were these huge amounts of like these rural, like 4-year liberal arts colleges that and people would pay to go because, I don't know, because first of all, I guess the government was subsidized. This is like the GI Bill and stuff like that. The government was subsidizing a lot of this. And now, like, none of these institutions are going to be able to survive. No. Like, there's no economic reason for them to even exist. No, and it's sad to boil it all down to economics, but...
Big rise in trade schools.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're going to see. And part of me thinks that's really sad because I still think that there's something worthwhile in a lot of academic pursuits.
Pendulum will swing back eventually.
Yeah.
But
just going to college and experiencing how much knowledge you don't know is like amazing. And finding what you want to do and finding what you like to do.
Absolutely.
And there are benefits to like, I'm not really a huge like No Child Left Behind type of person, but like, I don't know. They're like even being exposed to things that you are never going to use is useful.
Yeah.
Right? I don't use a lot of the higher level math that I was taught in school, but like I do know that it exists. And if I ever needed to know, like if there was ever in a situation where like, oh yeah, maybe I should try to, I need to remember the like geometry is usually the easy one, but like, oh yeah, I need to remember the sine of the or the sine of the whatever is equal to the angle. Oh, I could figure that out. Like I could go if I really needed it and know enough to know that it exists, and not me just go like it's impossible to find the angle of a triangle when you don't know the length of the sides, like or something like that. Like I could. I don't know it off the top of my head, but I could look it up if I needed to.
No, that's always been my barrier growing up is like the terminology to get into a field is like I'm in the tech field. Friggin', there's so many friggin' acronyms that
jargon.
Yeah. I fucking hate jargon.
It's all jargon.
Because it like, especially with acronyms too, is like, okay, you just told me an acronym. This is the first time I remember hearing it. I know what you're talking about, but I don't know what the acronym stands for. Yeah. But anyways, in general,
it's industry specific. Too.
Yeah, getting to know the jargon allows you to search for things that give you the answers that you want. So it's like there's another barrier there.
Yeah, it helps you specialize.
Yeah, and going to college or some sort of higher education than high school is helping you learn a little bit of that jargon to break you into
It's getting started.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, no, there are definitely benefits. It's just it's it's eating itself from the inside.
Yeah.
Which is, unfortunate.
So let's talk presidential elections.
I was wondering if Trump was going to come up.
Yeah. What do you think?
He's not coming up in Maine. Well, he might.
Actually, that's I don't know if you've heard anything about that, but
they deferred it. So a judge deferred it till after Supreme Court makes its decision, and then she fucking appealed it here. Our Secretary of State,
Shanna Bellows, yeah,
she appealed that decision, and now I think we get the results of that appeal in like a week or two.
So basically, because I don't think we covered it the first time.
It hasn't happened.
So Colorado decided to basically take Trump off of the ballot from the Republican primary in Colorado,
based on the 14th Amendment.
Based on the 14th Amendment, saying that they could do that for they could basically remove someone from that ballot if they had engaged in treasonous acts or sedition against the United States of America. Or in armed rebellion, I think is one of the things.
Probably
gave aid and comfort to someone doing a treason.
Which was meant for
doing a treason.
Doing a treason.
And which was, created during the Civil War when that was happening.
Yeah.
Like,
Had some
okay,
real direct relevance.
yeah, and it's a bit overselling it, I think, is safe to say, especially on this podcast, in regards to January 6th. But okay,
Yeah. Sorry.
Well,
I won't change it, but I didn't make
the
a
massive
mental note.
casualties suffered on Jan 6 were equal, if not greater, than the Civil War in entirety.
Did you see they found the video of the was it the FBI planting that pipe bomb?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anyway, sorry.
sure
I'm not
did.
going to tangent it, but yeah. So now we know that's fake too. Cool.
We
January-
knew that all along.
January 6th was
I just
inside
wanna
Fed
say-
job.
I just want to say Pine Pirate Radio ahead of the curve on that one, but whatever.
Who was Ray Epps? Anyways, go Google it.
But yeah, so anyways, so they basically decided to remove Trump from the ballot. You know, obviously Trump repealed. Later, Shanna Bellows is like, hey, I want to have a platform to run for governor on. You know, I want to appeal to the fucking purple-haired people in Portland. That's
Pretty much.
That's
Hey,
basically
how
what
do we
she
get
did.
Maine in the news again?
Right.
Oh, I know. I'm
Yeah.
Secretary of State.
We were just in the news a couple months ago for the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
so
well,
we
here
gotta-
we are again. Because she was getting like death threats.
They swatted her.
They swatted her house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't. I might even be on the record on this show of having said that. I was like, that was the stupidest fucking thing you could do. Someone in Maine knows where that girl lives. Like, someone knows who she is, and she just pissed off half the fucking state. That was not a good idea.
Anyways, so the decision has come down basically that the Maine Superior Court basically said that they effectively repealed it. So basically what they're saying is that Trump will be on the Republican ballot barring a decision from the Supreme Court. So if the Supreme Court upholds the Colorado decision, Maine will also defer to Colorado's decision, saying that we're going to take him off the ballot. In all likelihood, it's basically a Trump appointed court. They're going to probably side with Trump.
Can you
Who
imagine?
knows?
Can you imagine if they don't? Like, the big question is like, I'd be so pissed.
Amy, you betrayed me.
Yeah, first of all, if I were Trump, I'd be pissed, not only because that's pretty much goes the chance at like a true election, but also like, yeah, like I put three you motherfuckers here. Like, when I needed you the most, you didn't fucking help me.
Yeah.
So there's, I mean, if that happened, and we've discussed this, there's civil.
There would definitely
civil discontent at the very least.
I was about to say I don't think it would. I think you would definitely see conflicts, but I don't think that would be the trigger for civil war.
Also, I think Trump could win the election without Colorado and Maine. So
Yeah.
If other states piled on, it may lead to that. though.
Well, no, he visited New Hampshire, didn't he? Recently, or I'm
Yeah.
thinking of someone
Yeah.
else. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's-
because
yeah.
Vivek Ramaswamy dropped out of the race and he's now just endorsing Trump.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, and now everyone thinks
not
that he's going to
only-
pick him for VP.
Not only did Vivek drop out, Ron DeSantis just dropped out.
Oh, did he finally? He was
for him.
he was holding on. He was holding on. He was gonna try and do the he was trying to hitch his horse with the Nikki Haley and be like, hey, you and we're gonna be the anti-Trump candidate.
Yeah, he dropped out of his 3-inch lifts.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Dropped into him.
He's just like suspended and like.
that guy's wearing heels. He's definitely wearing heels.
Oh no! I saw somebody took a screenshot of him walking, and like the hinge for his ankle was like way too high.
It's
on
like
the
up in
boot.
his shin.
Yeah.
It's like, the dude's definitely wearing heels. Like, yeah, he's wearing lifts.
Yeah.
So I hadn't heard that Ron dropped
So
out. But,
so not only that, he endorsed Trump
Oh, cool.
over Nikki Haley.
yeah, well, that's a shocker.
Trump is
DeSantis did?
Yeah.
Oh, even after all that meatball Ron shit.
Yeah.
Even all that. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. He's probably invited them over to 3 dinners by this point. Like, all right, cool. This is how you're going to help me out.
And so Trump is leading Nikki Haley by 19 points in New Hampshire. He's leading Nikki Haley in South Carolina. He swept the floor in Iowa.
Yeah, Nikki Haley is not going to get.
He won every Iowa county except one, and he lost that county by 1 vote.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, President Biden's trying to like shift the first the first Democratic. He's trying to do a write-in campaign in New Hampshire because he's trying to make South Carolina vote first in their primaries.
Yeah, and he's succeeding in that because he wants a win. He wants to start out with a win.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, he's not going to get a win.
But because
in
of
New
that,
Hampshire.
he's going to lose in New Hampshire probably. or he's going. I don't know if he'll lose in New Hampshire because there's no real like countervailing threat to him. I mean, Bobby Kennedy's running.
I would say RFK Jr. would be the only one.
now.
If Bobby Kennedy might have a good showing in New Hampshire, but he pretty much killed his campaign as soon as he became like a fucking genocidaire.
Yeah, well,
like someone who
if he were still a Democrat, running in the Democratic Party, I mean, not like him personally, but like if he were still in the Democratic Party,
right?
I think he would take New Hampshire pretty handily,
right?
Especially with the current situation.
I forgot that he was running independent. I've literally just stopped following his campaign as soon as all the Israel-Palestine stuff.
I see stuff from him now, and it's so boilerplate. Like, you're just saying this because you think it's gonna get you votes. Like, it's Bernie.
He had something to begin with.
It's the Bernie campaign, at least for me, all over again. At least this time, I didn't let myself get attached because I know I've been hurt before.
Exactly.
So I'm just like, I know. But literally, he had all the momentum and was saying the right things and was building trust, which is what the public is yearning for. Yeah. And then he took all of it because he decided to dingle a little girl or something.
Yeah, if only he didn't ride that Lolita Express.
There's definitely dirt on him. There has to be dirt on him.
There has to be. There's like no other explanation, right? Because like even before this, like he was talking openly about how Sirhan didn't kill his father. Yeah. He's reversed his stance on that now. Yep. Yeah, he is now he's just a like, a part of me is like, they definitely have blackmail on him, but I think they have blackmail on his son. Yeah, I think it's probably a mixture of the
both.
Or both. Yeah.
I mean, at that point, personally, I'd be like, all right, I'm just not going to run anymore. But I think they want him to run.
Yeah, they do. Now he's useful.
Yeah.
They feel like they can sheep herd a lot of people, like the anti-vax crowd and stuff, into places where they find politically useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening right now. That's like this Vivek guy, I think, is another person that they're trying to do that with. Like, he's like anti-WEF. He was just announcing, he's like, we're going to destroy the WEF. How are you going to destroy the WEF?
It's not an American institution.
Right. Like, what are you going to do? Pass a law? Like, are you going to bomb Davos?
Please.
Like, what do you, like, that would be great.
I really wouldn't feel that bad.
No.
Did you see another minor thing, but did you see that like all of the, what was it, like 7,500 or something on like escorts in all of the Davos area, like the area around Davos? They were all booked, like just completely booked.
Yeah.
Because anyone who thinks that isn't just a giant eyes wide shut party is fucking kidding themselves. But like, I'm not gonna lie, other than I'm sure there's a lot of working women there that are probably relatively innocent, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who are catering these events that are innocent, and I'm sure there are plenty of innocent people. If all of Davos were to get destroyed, I would not shed a tear. I would feel very bad for the innocent people that I know would be destroyed, but I honestly think
if you can afford to live in Davos, if you directly didn't do something bad, your grandfather did.
Think of like we have all of the literal corporate elite around the world. We have the political elite. We have a lot of the like just wealthy families that just like to pull strings in different countries. Like, I think, even though a lot of innocent people would die, it would probably be a net benefit for humanity.
I mean, there's two things I really hate in this world. And first one's people who are intolerant of people's cultures. And the second is the Swiss.
So it's literally, and I don't even necessarily have an issue with the Swiss specifically, just all of the people that would ever go to the World Economic Forum conference.
Yeah.
Well, including Javier Milei.
You're right.
Oh, he went?
Yeah.
So I poster boy of freedom, Javier Milei, member of the World Economic Forum.
I hope he went in cosplay.
So that would have been so fucking funny, but no, he didn't. Although his entire life is a cosplay. Let's be real.
Yeah.
This fucker goes to Davos. I watched the speech.
I haven't watched it yet, but I've read about it.
Guys, watch the coverage or read some of the coverage around this.
Of Javier specifically?
In every it's so like even like in CNBC, I knew something was up. Like, so first of all, like, not that Alex Jones we've covered like Alex.
He's got reporters there apparently in fucking Davos.
Good for him.
Yeah.
We've covered like Alex Jones, like Alex Jones was right. He is right about a lot of stuff. You can't even argue about it. It's true. He's right about a lot of stuff.
He's back on Twitter now.
He's back on Twitter, but I think he sold his soul to be back on Twitter.
You think?
Some of the things he said, and he's been wrong about a lot of shit too, or at least the spin, and the people he's chosen to associate with. There's a man named Steve Pieczenik who was like this weird spooky CIA guy that he was like promoting. He got into bed with Roger Stone. He got into bed like all these like weird fucking spooky people. And he comes from a family of spooks as well. So like whatever. But I just every once in a while I'll just like dip into InfoWars. I'll be like, I wonder what Alex Jones is saying today.
It's sort of like when you used to flick through the TV and just like, I don't know what I want to watch, but I want to see what they're doing on the Discovery Channel or something.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so like the other day I dipped into InfoWars and I'm like, what's AJ saying today? Mm-hmm. And he's talking about Javier Milei.
Yeah.
And he's talking about, and he's like, folks, there's one person that's speaking the truth to the globalists. And he's like, and I'm like, okay. And then so he's basically they clip this one little portion of Javier Milei's speech, and he's basically saying something along the lines of, what you're doing is leading into socialism, and socialism will lead us into destruction. And then so all the headlines are Javier Milei goes to the World Economic Forum and basically berates them about socialism.
Taking down the left. Well, and I don't even think the coverage didn't mention the fact that he was talking about socialism. They were trying to say like he's confronting the left for trying to destroy the world.
Right? You literally watch the whole speech. He begins the speech by telling them that they are the future leaders of the world. They are that men like them run the world and have every right to run the world. Mm-hmm. He literally starts the speech that way.
Well, and I was gonna say, because what they're gonna do is it's gonna be like they're gonna zoom out and they're gonna show the whole context of the speech. He's like, all right, guys, now I have to say this thing because I have to get coverage on the news network. So this might sound kind of tough, but don't worry, I'll get back to blowing you all when in about 30 seconds.
Like seriously though, he might as well have just said that literally. Yeah. Like, I mean, and like breathless coverage across like the right leaning press about how he was really sticking it to the WWIII, and they're like, and you can tell like they're really a lot of the money behind these outfits really want to like raise this guy up as like an example of like what basically as a pseudo right politician, right? Like someone like a pseudo populist, right? Like so he says all the right things, but he does all the right things behind the scenes. Like so and they're trying to spin it so he goes to the WWIII, and goes to Davos and talks and speaks in front of them. And and they try to get out ahead of it because a lot of anti-Milei sentiment is, he is on their website. He's a World Economic Forum member. That's a little sus. They when they use it against everyone else, that's a huge no-no. Yeah. But like somehow they're like, no, he's our man on the inside.
I was just about to say.
That's like
I might say like you may catch me. They're not in my current job because I actually really enjoy it. But like you might catch me saying bad things about my company when I work for a company, just in general. This would be true for anybody. But at the end of the day, you still work for them. They're still paying your salary, right? So
exactly.
So like it does, like it's not really. It doesn't mean anything unless it actually means anything. Like
if you're morally bankrupt enough to join the WEF, I don't want to hear anything you have to say.
If he were holding up like a list of all the pedophiles at Davos and he was announcing it in front, like then I might be like, okay, he's going somewhere.
Yeah. That would have been
into the ground, but but holy shit, he just actually cracked the case, right? Like
if he was in like his superhero. He just unfurls a scroll of fucking pedophiles and just starts reading their names.
I hereby announce the
Escuela.
Escuela. Just like it means something if it's going to lead to some outcome of like actual result. This was not going to do that.
I'd shit my pants though if he did that, and then everyone stood up and like clapped. It was like, yeah, we are pedophiles. Good job, everybody. They're so fucking out of touch.
They finally found us. Oh my god, it's all. That's what I mean though. Like, that's one of those things where I can only imagine the amount of money they must spend on security. Not only from like the private individuals that go there, but like, do you want to talk about painting a target on your back? Like it's a well-known, and it's one of many of those like Bilderberg type meetings that I'm sure happen in secret. But like, that's one of those places where it's like, you literally, how does it not just scream, they're going to decide how to run the world? Like that's what it feels like. And it's what it is. As far as they're concerned, that's what it is.
They've blatantly said that before.
Because their topics this year are the title, or like the genre of this year's meeting is how to rebuild trust. But like the real thing is this Disease X is what they're pushing this year. Like Disease X it's not a new name, but it's like a placeholder name for the disease that's going to destroy humanity.
Also, that guy that I was talking to, the security guard.
Yeah.
He was telling me, well, I don't know if you've heard of this Disease X that's coming around. People are catching it. And I'm like,
no. Disease X is
I go, what are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, there's a new disease out there. It's Disease X. People are so fucking stupid.
Yeah, well, it's
fucking read 4 sentences down, you'll understand that it's not an actual disease. So they're just talking about it's a placeholder for the next pandemic.
Well, here's how they got it into the zeitgeist, right? There was like at least one article. It was one of the mainstream medias. I don't remember if it was MSNBC or CNN. It might have even been Fox, but one of them like made a story or a headline talking about one of the things that they mentioned at Davos, and one of the speeches at Davos said that COVID-19 was for a time considered a Disease X. Like, and that was like a way to get it into the zeitgeist by saying like COVID-19 was believed to be the world ending disease, and so a lot of people like are thinking that COVID is Disease X, and it's not. Disease X is a concept, not an actual disease, which is the point we're trying to make. But like, people are now associating just sicknesses with Disease X, which is exactly what they want, because then when they then they can use that term in the future when we get COVID-3 or COVID-23 or 24, because they usually name it by year of discovery. Like, that's where it's going to be that like, oh, COVID-24 is the Disease X that you guys have been hearing about for a year.
What do you guys think the next pandemic will be? We're gonna get one. What do you think?
If it's anything less than Ebola, I'm gonna be devastated. Like, I want to see eyes bleeding. Like, if you want to convince me that the world's gonna end, that's what's gonna take at this point.
Yeah, I think it would have to be big, but I don't think the next thing that's gonna shit all of our pants is gonna be a disease. It might be afterwards, or if their current plan or the next plan fails, it might be a disease, because that will keep us in homes. But I'm not sure.
I'm an avian flu guy. I think it's gonna be. I don't think they're that creative. I think it's just gonna be bird flu.
They'll just do flu again.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like,
or another pig disease.
I think
it could be swine flu.
I think if they want to do a flu, they probably need to wait. Like, I don't think they can do it in the 2024 election. I think they'll have to do it in 2028. Like, I think a flu is not gonna be strong enough.
I think it depends on how desperate they are to avoid a Trump election.
Oh, very.
Oh, yeah.
And we know they are.
But I mean, I guess what I mean is that like as much, because as evidenced in my opinion, or in my view, by the fact that the Davos conference is literally called How to Rebuild Trust, they've actually done some level of introspection and said, all right, well, this didn't work as well as we thought. Like, we literally thought just the whole world was going to fall in line, and we only got 2/3 of it.
Right.
So next time how do we get that last third on the next go? Because I think that there's enough, like, it's still in enough people's memories of like, they told us we were going to die if we didn't wear a mask on a beach. They tried to tell us
they were arresting people.
Yeah, not
on
only that, they're
surfboards.
beating people on the beach.
Yeah, beating people on the beach. They were closing churches because they were saying that, you can't congregate, which is like
crazy.
If COVID hadn't existed, that would have been like an act of treason, like against the United States as a country.
Yeah,
like that. There are enough people that still, on all different walks of life and even economic scales, that like still remember some of the ludicrousness. And if you were to try and put it back now, like, I think you just get enough people saying no. And they figured out ways to avoid going to places that that would try to enforce those rules.
COVID was crazy times. It was like the only time that like a lot of these far right presses were like gave positive coverage to like Judaism.
Yeah,
because
right?
of like the Orthodox Jews that were like fuck you to like because like they weren't following the COVID laws.
And I can't put a number on it, but I bet you some of the people who had to like read the Bible to try and claim a religious exemption might have actually become religious. So there might have been
crazy times.
There might have been a net positive as far as like increase in theism.
Even just last week, I was presented with the option of going to a building that required masks, and I'm like, no, fuck it.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna do it. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Nah, we'll do it on mic.
Yeah.
But like,
well, it's one of those things where it's like I think that if they were to try and just do it with like a flu, where enough people would say like, yeah, I'm gonna get sick and it might even be pretty bad, but like I remember what it was like during COVID and I'm not doing that shit again. That's what it's like to me. Like, yeah, unless you're like bleeding out of orifices in your face from whatever this like a sarin gas attack, then okay, all right, yep, we'll put a mask on.
So I can report that like from my vantage in healthcare at an undisclosed facility in Maine, that the rules are there. Mm-hmm. The enthusiasm for enforcement is not. Mm-hmm. There is like I literally watch. So like right now, like there's a policy that, you know, because it's influenza season or whatever, and COVID season, I guess now.
Yep.
And
because that's the thing.
And I guess you know, like, and so you're supposed to wear masks, like with patient contact. I literally watch surgeons walk into a room without a mask.
Yeah, I think
at least 5 times a day. Like they don't care.
It's
like
no
one cares anymore.
It's a backlash, right?
Yeah.
Where now people are like, well, all right, grandma might die, but I ain't fucking doing that shit again. Like that's what I mean. Like that's why, like, if they were to try and do it now so soon, I don't think it could be like a pretty bad flu. I think that
and you
it
have
would
to remember,
be...
these are all like vaccinated and boosted people.
Oh, right.
Like these are all like
these are
for the
people who
most
these are
part,
people who
yeah.
complied and did what they were told to do,
Right.
and the ones that don't have, you know, cardiac arrest that exist and just live and work and do everything else, like,
and they don't care,
and they don't
like,
want to do
it. They don't
it.
even care. So like, can you imagine? You know what I mean? Like it's to that point is that maybe the WWIII should be trying to rebuild trust.
I think that I have to give, even though I'm not there, right? I can't criticize if they're actually doing anything with it, but the fact that they titled the conference "Rebuilding Trust" does at least tell me that someone went, oh, we don't have as much influence as we thought we did. Now, whether that was them just very overestimating their or this is more likely, this is like this is how we improve because this was never meant to be the one where we actually take over the world.
Yeah, well, what was their plan to regain trust?
I don't know.
So it's they listed the biggest threats to the world. And the biggest threat to the world, according to the World Economic Forum, is disinformation, which means that
that's not a good way to build trust, is by censoring everybody.
Yeah, because that's the only the whole hammer and nail situation. If all you have a hammer, everything becomes all you have is a hammer, everything becomes a nail. That's basicking if all you know how to do is censor,
or if all you have a hammer,
you know what I mean?
Like, everything becomes a sickle.
Well, I'm working on it.
You know, you just want to highlight everything around. You know, not highlight.
Hammer.
Black marker. Is that what they?
Redact.
Redact. They use a black
Censor?
marker.
Yeah.
Censor. You know.
Yeah.
Anyways,
censor.
My point being is that like they're gonna try to like do something with the internet even more than they already have done.
Well, so that was a thing that they were talking about, not at the WWIII, but I don't know. One of them was like the next like event is going to be essentially like a worldwide internet outage, like data outage.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a communications, I think was the word that they used, communications outage. So that was supposed to be interpreted as like internet, phone.
They're going to reboot the internet essentially.
Well, basically like what happens in society, like how quickly will they grasp on the government when there's no mass communication?
I think what's going to surprise the government is how little people give a shit about the government, because first of all the government's been doing for the past 20 years is training us not to rely on it.
Yeah. It's quite literally been every time they try and tighten the noose a little harder, more's slipping through the fingers.
I'm not saying that people like won't take aid, they will because they're not dumb. But like,
Well,
And in terms of like not being able to use the internet, we might have like a dopamine detox for a couple weeks, and people are going to be like, "What the fuck?" But after that, I think everyone's going to be relatively fine.
I don't. I think if it came back in a reasonable amount of time, sure. But like, just for example, your job, right? Like in my job, like it functions.
if
like,
that happened, if it happened for many weeks or several months, the economy would crash.
well, and so that, and that's, I think that's why they're moving away from a like the next. I think they're going to do another pandemic. I think that's why they do this Disease X talk, and they're going to do these games where they try and figure out where's the most effective place and how to
it's
do
like
this.
maybe if we do a disease in conjunction with some sort of a communications blackout, or
That will prevent people communicating online and in person.
Well, or it's a way to shift onto one like communication network, Starlink, right? Like,
Right,
oh, hey,
yeah.
look, all the cable backbone died, so now just everyone's got to use satellite internet. Guess who owns all of that?
Also, no VPNs; they're illegal.
Yeah,
seriously, yeah.
No anonymity is not allowed. Well, that was Nikki Haley's whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna name everyone on the internet.
To Trump's credit, he said, someone asked him, "Do you think you'll name Nikki Haley as your VP?" And he's like, "Probably not."
Just dead ass.
He just
Probably not.
If he's gonna be our next dictator, like at least he's a funny dictator.
Honestly,
that's all I'm gonna say.
If
He's
the world,
funny as fuck.
if the world's gonna burn, I want to enjoy the show.
Exactly.
If that's where it's gonna go, absolutely, and totally, and that's where. So they're absolutely setting Donald Trump up to win the next election, whether or not it's intentional. I think because their only other option was they're gonna try and the hot swap Biden for someone else, but there's really no good Democratic nominee.
There's a small chance that they'll try to do some weird thing with Michelle Obama or someone,
or Newsom. Newsom was the
He's
the
seems
pick.
to be the backup.
But I'll be honest, there's no short of pure genuine literal election fraud, I don't see how a Democrat
I haven't
wins.
Seen Mr. Geriatric in a while anyway.
No.
What has he been up to?
He died 2 months ago.
Honestly, they inflated his corpse and been pushing it around.
They literally put an animatronic skeleton in his body. He's just been.
I like to think it's just they filled him with helium so he could float and then you could push him. And he'd he I don't know that he's done much, but his big thing is more support for Israel, more support for Ukraine.
So more of the same.
Well, yeah,
which is what no one wants.
Which is more of the he didn't
great campaign
the
slogan.
The student loan cancellation that he was supposed to do on his campaign is finally coming around, and he's losing favor even with the youth again. So I just don't see how a Democratic candidate wins this election.
There's no way. They can't provide anything.
No, and so in between that and all of the controversy surrounding Donald Trump right now, he's oh my god, we haven't even talked about that. He's in a lawsuit where it turns out the judge was boning the lead prosecutor, and he's buying trips for her and him to go on these vacations, and so Trump's gonna get that case thrown out. Because
may be the luckiest man in the world.
I swear.
So
either that or it's this is all planned ahead of time and they just want Donald Trump in the White House.
That could be too. I mean
maybe
that's always a possibility. Chris Christie dropped out famously from because of his showing in Iowa.
Yep.
And
his hot mic situation.
And so the hot mic situation. So he was supposed to endorse Nikki Haley, which was supposed to give her some sort of a boost in the polls. That didn't work out for her. That broke in Trump's favor. Everything just seems to break in his favor, and you can
what? So this is what I mean, the Democratic Party at the very least, the folks pulling the strings on this whole let's get Donald Trump off of ballots, let's just make it so they can't even vote for him.
They just have no fucking
they're so
self-reflection.
They're so disconnected from reality because even the people who are sycophantically going to vote Democrat, they don't care whether or not Donald Trump's on the ballot because they were never going to vote for him.
cash. Sometimes you have to become the fascist to prevent the
and,
fascist. All right?
and that's where we're at. So I saw the Pikachu meme, and this is so relevant. And it was like Americans vote in lesser evil, right? Because we're always constantly picking the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
And then it says United States government does something evil. And it's the Pikachu face. Yeah, no shit. Like it's so true. We're just sitting here trying to pick the ones that we think are the least evil, and then when they do something evil, we're all shocked. It's like, but so anyway, so like the Democrats that were just blue no matter who, were never gonna vote Donald Trump. So it didn't matter if he was on the ballot because they weren't gonna vote for him.
Right.
The Democrats that were maybe somewhat on the fence and didn't really like Biden, didn't really like Trump, but they're still probably going to vote Democrat. They're also probably not going to suddenly vote Trump. But the Democrats who are like actually paying attention and are just like watching politics are going,
the Bobby Kennedy Democrats, basically, the people that he was supposed to be appealing to.
Right.
Right.
They're going to say like, holy fuck, they're literally trying to deny an ex-president the ability to run for president. And he's clearly popular. It's not like he's just a guy out of nowhere. That's corrupt.
I can openly say positive things about Donald Trump at my place of work. I could not have done that even 6 months ago.
So that's what, like, he's won so much goodwill in the fact that he's being persecuted so hard and nothing's stuck, that they're like, he's garnered enough sympathy that even people who are like on the other side of the spectrum are saying like, yeah, that's bullshit.
That's how you know you're fucking up. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the most royally fucked up election cycle.
All I'm going to say is the CIA 20 years ago would not have missed with Donald Trump. They would have gotten him in jail immediately on something.
Yeah, something's happening. So like the institutional breakdown. I think even the CIA in some ways is becoming less effective.
Yeah,
and
that's what it feels like.
Yeah, we're not in a good place.
Like when even
at least you could be like, at least the CIA is competent.
Honestly, if I were going to put my money on an organization to put someone away on trumped up charges, it would be the fucking CIA against Donald fucking Trump. But no.
What do you think the cause of that is, though? It's just everyone out of fucking touch?
I think it's institutional inertia. I just think it's people basically sniffing their own farts, just believing that they're in power, not because they have like no impulse to preserve the power.
The greatest generation in the world is now old and failing.
Right. Well, and they just buy into it. They just buy into this idea that, their power is inevitable. They don't have to do anything to preserve it. And here we are. Well, because turns out they did have to do something.
Well, the hard part about being the string puller is that one way or another you have to pass along the title of string puller, because if you don't, that whole system will collapse. And I think what we're seeing is a bunch of those like little networks, all people die or move on, and then there's no one to replace them. So that whole network of influence just goes back into a power vacuum, and someone else takes it over, but it's not someone who was going to follow the original agenda.
Yeah, there's like no continuity. Yeah, they didn't ensure for continuity.
The deep state forgot. Yeah.
No, I was listening to a podcast today and yesterday too. Somebody was talking about UFO stuff, and he was blowing whistles, and just there's no movement on anybody. Like, I mean, I haven't really followed the UFO stuff, and not to derail, but just as like a side of how stuck and inert the government is, they're so stuck, they're not even willing to budge at all in giving someone who has high clearance any more information than is necessary, so that he can disseminate information to the public. And he's very careful with making sure there's no trade secrets being let out or anything like that could put America's safety in jeopardy. But like, they're just not moving at all, even at that level where UFO stuff is kind of like died down. No one really gives a shit anymore, especially with the economic situation we're in.
Right.
So it's like, this isn't really that big of a deal to give the public more information, and no one's moving at all. And he related it to everyone just being like, I'm more important than you. I get to know this information and you don't.
Yeah.
And it seems to be that way throughout the entire upper echelon.
Yeah, well, I mean, information is power. And if you give up that information, you don't have the power, at least the perceived power that you once had.
Which is the perception is the problem.
Right.
And there are some people that know how to actually leverage this. Like, knowledge is power, totally true, but being able to actually convert knowledge into something.
If you never use the knowledge, right?
But there's enough people know that knowledge is useful to someone, and so they just want to accumulate that so they can try and then pawn it when they finally see the opportunity. But like the people who are actually turning that like converting that knowledge into actionable power, I guess, to just keep the metaphor going, like they're not doing it, or they're running out of their ability to do that,
stockpiling it,
and so now we just have a bunch of people where all they want to do is sit in these committee hearings and just get like these little,
and that's how information's
lost.
They can use. That's how things like get lost to time. Yeah, is when you do that, you don't like, okay, this is just going to be black booked for till my grandkids.
Well, to that point, we were 2-3 months ago, we were at a point where the United States government just openly kind of admitted to the public that there are extraterrestrial fucking spacecraft in their possession, and then that's it. They just kind of left it.
No one gave a fuck.
One person. People gave a fuck, but it was also like enough people went like,
it was Pikachu shock phase again.
Yeah, well, it was like, what? Yeah, it was like, why are we? Wait, they're announcing. Okay, so where's the national committee that's going to investigate the fucking extraterrestrial, the supposedly non-human origin spacecraft that you claim to have in your possession? Because how is that not the most important thing to talk about right now? Like that's where it was they needed a distraction, right? And so they threw that out there, and and the world moved on, and then we've had Israel-Palestine for the past 3 months.
I don't mean to bring it back around, but what do you guys think for VP? Who do you guys think?
Which side?
For obviously,
Kamala. I don't.
Kamala's not going anywhere.
I wish she.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they just went with like a full clean reset.
They're too stupid. Yeah. They literally like I said, it's the huffing their own farts phenomenon. They literally it is not within their power to like look within themselves and course correct.
Yeah. Well, when people of color
Davos.
When people of color vote and they vote for Kamala Harris, they're voting in a voting booth for her.
Someone cut to it's a picture of Kamala sitting at behind a table, like kind of smiling, and she's clearly like in lighting because she's on a show, and it's like Kamala finally realizing her dream of being the smartest person in the room, and then it goes to the wide shot and it's her on The View. I was like, woo, zing, they got her. Because she's just sitting there like smiling, so proud, and I was like, oh, all right, that's a good one. That was pretty fun. Fucking Joy Behar.
I think it would be cool for Vivek because just he has the charisma and he's younger. Maybe there's something in him that would,
I think he's going for cabinet.
Do something change.
I think he's going for a cabinet position because like.
Oh, he has said that he wouldn't accept a VP.
And I think he was like just trying to. I think he was literally just kind of an experiment, like we're gonna run this as far as I can run it. Let's see how much goodwill I can build up, and then I'll sell it at the end because I don't think he wants to go into the VP position. I also think he knows like Trump wouldn't pick him.
Yeah,
like Trump's gonna go for someone that like he went with Pence because Pence was like a pretty not manipulatable, but like kind of a pushover. Vivek takes up almost as much oxygen in a room as Donald Trump does.
So, it turned out that Mike Pence was the person that was leaking a lot of that shit that was coming out from his administration. It was literally coming directly from Mike Pence or Mike Pence's office.
Oh,
yeah. So like a lot of the stuff like around January 6th, a lot of the stuff that was coming out, like a lot of the negative press, like all these like that would like have like short minor bursts in the press surrounding his presidency. Yeah. A lot of that was getting leaked through the vice president's office.
Okay, so the traditional Republicans had a man on the inside.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, Mike Pence, this is what a lot of people didn't like. People liked it when he picked him, but like Mike Pence is a career politician,
right?
So
and
he knows.
Definition one of the reasons milquetoast.
Yeah.
One of the reasons they chose him was one, he's not a charisma. He's a charisma vacuum.
Yeah.
There's no charisma at all. He pretty much. So he's not a threat on that level to Donald Trump. But on top of that, he was sort of a bridge to the mainstream Republicans. Yeah. Right. Like he was a way to kind of bring that part of the party into and it was like Trump's olive branch to like Romney Republicans
to sway
or whatever.
the traditional conservatives that were like, I don't know about this Trump guy, but
right.
Yeah.
And so I don't think he'll make that mistake again.
Yeah.
I don't think he will.
He's not going to pick a politician, I'll bet.
So a lot of people are like Tucker Carlson.
Oh God,
he floated it.
What about that chick from Iowa, Utah? What was her name?
Are you
Carrie
talking
Lake?
about Carrie Lake?
Yeah.
So if I had to choose one, I would.
Go
I'm
Carrie
just
Lake.
saying. If I had to choose one, it would be Carrie Lake.
I'm trying to remember because
She's from Arizona. She was running for governor of Arizona. She lost.
No, sorry, I remember.
Pilk.
Oh no, she was running for senator from Arizona.
No, I was no. Where I was going was I was trying to remember if it was actually from a Trump representative or if it was just or if it was just Fox pushing it, and I can't remember. But they're trying to get Tulsi back on the bandwagon for Trump.
Too late.
Yeah,
And,
no thanks.
Yeah,
no
thanks.
weffers for me, thank you.
So this is where Donald Trump being Donald Trump. It wouldn't surprise me if he was like going to horse trade some stuff with the WEF on behalf, like, what are you going to give me if I pick Tulsi, like, and they could be like, well, we're the WEF. What do you want?
Right.
Yeah, literally, what do you want? And like, well, I need you to spend a few nights at my hotel in Trump Tower, and oh, by the way, the rate is $500 billion a night.
Yeah.
And we're gonna build it. And we're gonna build a secret service. But anyways, so I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if he does go for Tulsi because Tulsi is a good like demographic pick, and it would make sense because Donald Trump likes to be around
That'd
women.
be like a nice traditional Democrat with a populist Republican. That'd be weird.
Well,
but it'd be cool.
It'd be a unity ticket.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Well, and she actually has enough of a stance on anti-COVID, a decent enough stance on the Russia Ukraine to like slide in with the Democratic side without being like too much of a Democrat, but she can kind of lean back on her Democratic roots for, well, like some of those things are a little misguided, and so. But now we're here and we can actually affect real change if we all come together and destroy this corrupt system. Which,
so basically, be an AOC.
Yeah, pretty much. But
Gotcha.
but a red one. And not as strong though, because like Tulsi's strengths I think are that she can be the more reserved. What AOC kind of tried to talk about, like being the adult in the room, like back when Biden was running, like that was, well, Biden's going to put the adults back in the White House, like, but like Tulsi can actually have the demeanor of like she can have an argument and not just devolve into a yelling fight, and she can cover the demographics, but she's also obviously competent at manipulating people, so it would the deep state would want her.
I mean, she is an intelligence officer.
Yeah, so like that's why I could see. If if Donald Trump wanted something badly enough, he could trade it.
I could see him do that. If so, like my feeling is that the most likely pick is Vivek.
You think?
I do.
I don't think he'll do it
right now. Like
he
in
said
terms
he
of
wouldn't, but
in
we'll
terms
see.
of his stock, I think
Vivek plays his cards very well.
If Vivek is offered the vice presidency, he will take it because he's not stupid.
I think Vivek was like, I don't want the VP. That's not why I'm after. That's not why I'm doing this. I think that Donald Trump really is the best path. That was basically the speech that he gave.
That was him saying, "Pick me for VP,"
or at the very least saying, even if not VP, because I understand the VP position is oftentimes not really like a personal choice. It's very much like a political game, and sometimes Vivek might just might not be the best choice. But just think about me for your cabinet,
right? Well, and he'll probably end up in the cabinet somewhere.
Yeah,
but so like, but I think like in terms, so like, if you're thinking about it like from the point of view, you want the Trump presidency, whatever that to succeed, whatever that means, right? Like you want it to succeed. So you want someone that like is a loyal Trumper, but also someone who needs Trump to succeed for them to also succeed politically. And that someone is probably someone like a Carrie Lake, because her
Carrie Lake.
entire brand is pro-Trump. Her entire brand, she needs Trump to succeed almost as much as Trump needs Trump to succeed. So you need someone like that underneath him, because his entire problem was that he put a bunch of people who undermined him.
Yeah.
Well, I was just about to say, so the I was gonna float, because apparently RFK Jr. is not that concerned about going back on his word at this point.
Right. RFK Jr. would be a decent pick.
If they combined their ticket, right, and at this and if the only thing they would have to do is the thing that they would have to convince people is like not to ostracize either party, like either side rather, but like RFK's rather's move to independent would make it a little easier for the lefter leaning folks that support him. Like, he can say, well, as the VP, I can still do my my environmental things. I will work to put Anthony Fauci in jail, and I will work to end the pharmaceutical corruption. Like, he can still say and do all those things in that position without really impeding on what Donald Trump's mission is. Now, that will ostracize part of a decent part of the blues, but if the blues don't have a good choice, I would be sympathetic to the idea of a strong VP, even if I didn't like the president.
See, Trump won't be accepting of a
Not
strong
to a
VP.
Kennedy.
Which is why, right now, I think Vivek,
Yeah.
in terms of like horse trading, I think he's like the highest stock right now. But I think that will change. I think what will end up happening is he's going to pick someone who is seen as a reliable Trumper, but also may not have like a huge national status. So someone like a Kristi Noem, like from like North Dakota. So she's a woman. So you get that appeal. But she was like, first of all, like North Dakota. I think it's northern one of the Dakotas. I think one of the Dakotas. I think it was North Dakota. Never shut down during COVID. Very pro-Trump, very, someone like that is probably like a far likelier choice, because Trump's not going to want to share the stage, even with someone who's as like outspokenly loyal as someone like a Carrie Lake.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to say it, but I think he would be dumb not to choose either a woman or a man of color for his
he
VP.
needs to. And I think that's one of the reasons why Tim Scott, who dropped out of the race, endorsed him, because he's kind of hoping for that. Well, maybe I'll get a VP nod. Maybe I'll be in the cabinet, something like that. They all are, except for like Chris Christie, who will never. Chris Christie basically did everything except blow Trump the last time around.
Vivek knew from the beginning that he's like, I got the funny name, right? Like, I don't look traditional, especially not in the.
He did really well.
He knew and he did the calculus from the beginning. Like, I'm gonna ride this popularity as far as I can ride it, and then I will get on the Trump bandwagon. Whereas all the other candidates in the Republican Party were like, oh no, I'm actually going to be president someday. Donald Trump, you were never going to be president when Donald Trump was a candidate that could be voted on your party. And Vivek was the only one that actually like realized that from the beginning. He seemed to have a little bit
of humility.
Well, and he knew, like I said, he knew. Donald Trump didn't. Just a reminder, Donald Trump didn't go to any of the debates.
Oh, yeah.
And literally made fun of all of them for doing it. And he goes, "Why the fuck would I go to a debate? I'm already going to win." And that only made people like him more.
Yeah.
And so like he absolutely was right. So Vivek was like, no, like I remember it was like the first debate and like it was one of the first questions or whatever. And they're like, all right, Donald Trump isn't here, but if he were nominated, would you give him your full endorsement? Vivek was the only. Yep, pick me. I'll do it first. Like, I'll endorse him right now. You want me to endorse him right now? Whatever you want. Like he knew immediately.
Yeah.
I need to hook my wagon to Trump, and then when the steam in my sails runs out, I'll just drop out and give him my endorsement. I'll look great because I've been saying things good this whole time. Now I'm on this guy's side that's actually going to win this thing. He likes me. The people who like him like me, and just float right on up.
Yeah, I mean, he has a political future in this country.
Absolutely.
Let's be real about that.
He's a good speaker. He knows how to play social media.
I'm waiting for the inevitable WEF link to drop.
He's clearly like a think tank. He is like a.
Oh yeah, I think we talked about it at one point. He was using like Obama talking points.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No, he's clearly
slick though. He is slick.
Oh
yeah.
And he's a good public speaker. But he took his act, because I'm going to call it an act. I just assume
No, it is.
It
to
has
the
to
next
be.
level, right? Where
If you're
he-
running for president, it has to be an act.
yeah, he'd be like heckling the audience members and being like just T-balling, like fucking setting them up to just smash them out of the park every time like someone would come up and try and hit with race politics. He's like, "Have you looked at me? It's not a racial thing. I don't see race like that. Like, obviously, it's not a big deal for me. But let me tell you what is a big deal." And then he just roll right over him. Like,
He definitely made an impact because like my dad was trying to make an effort to pronounce his name.
yeah,
Like-
it wasn't just like the yellow guy. Well, not yellow in this case,
that-
but the
you know,
Indian guy,
that dude.
Yeah.
You know,
the Indian-looking guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
he was calling him. What was he calling him? I can't even remember. It was like. I can't even, it was
the fact that he
he's
even
like,
tried
he's
is,
like
is
Ramaslimer or something
Yeah.
like. I was just like, what? I was like, and it like took me a minute to like, but he was talking about him. He likes him.
Yeah.
You know.
He's a wicked likable guy.
Yeah, he likes him.
But yeah,
He's winning over white Mainers.
yeah, I can't. Oh, yeah, I can't even label anyone outside of Biden that's even going to try on the Democratic side that might even have a win. So I
There's no
genuinely
one
can't even
who
think of it.
even-
They're gonna. You think they're even going to make new signs? Oh yeah, no, they did because they have a new slogan. It was like Biden.
Keep America great.
Something like no, it was literally something along those lines of like no, it was like let's close this one out, something like that. It was
What was his first slogan? I forget.
Biden.
Yeah.
I'm still alive.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't remember it.
I'm still here. Don't forget about me. No, it was like actually my phone.
Yeah,
did.
damn.
I'm
Yeah, it's
with
almost dead.
her, and it's pointing. There's an arrow pointing to Kamala.
I'm with stupid.
I'm with stupid. That would work.
That would
Anyways.
work. I don't know. No, but I bet you they won't even change the signs. They'll dust them off. Just
Change the 0 to a 4, and that's it.
yeah. It's just but it won't even be
just-
printed. Yeah,
yeah,
just
they just-
Sharpie them out. And they're just like, who did they pay to just Sharpie out all these signs?
The 4 is in like black, and there's like a partially an O behind it.
yeah, just enough where they could like
zero.
they just put like a template with a 4 over and just spray paint it.
Yeah.
You just see the paint. Oh yeah, it's gonna be great.
It's an artistic 4.
Well, all right.
I think we covered. We
Yeah.
didn't cover everything. There's still a lot more.
Yeah,
that happened,
I mean, we steamrolled a lot of stuff though.
but yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I mean,
Welcome to 2024.
fuck yeah.
Well, I think we're going to close this one out for tonight. My name is Fort.
Yeah, my name's Cash.
I'm Seth. Thanks for joining us again.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Keep tuned in for season 3. This is gonna be a fucking wild year,
Yeah,
folks.
This is where every show either it makes it or breaks it. Season
Yeah.
3. Again, let's go.
All right, peace
All right,
out.
See ya.